Chemueno, Deputy Director, Committee Services.
Florence Satenya Bonyo, Director, Committee Services.
Over to you, Mr. Kamau. You can introduce yourself to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to be here. My names are Engineer Michael Sisto Mwaura Kamau. Currently, I'm serving as the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Roads. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Kamau, as I said earlier on, we did receive your nomination, and pursuant to that, we did meet as a committee and wrote instructing the Secretariat to put an advert in the papers in keeping with the requirements of the law dealing with the public appointments, parliamentary approvals. Notifying the public that we have received your names, and that within 7 days, the public was required, also as part of our constitutional requirement, to participate in this process. But participation in this process is limited to the extent of members of public by way of putting in sworn affidavits, sworn before commissioners of oaths, expressing themselves one way or other with regard to suitability or otherwise of a nominee. Pursuant to that notice, about 3 Kenyans have put in some affidavits expressing themselves one way or other in respect to your suitability or otherwise for nomination to the docket that you've been. In keeping with the practice of the House and the rules of natural justice, the committee did instruct the Secretariat to forward to you the representations that had been made to the committee, granted that the said members of public would not be required to appear before this committee to express themselves verbally or orally, what they call in law viva voce. We have also since then received from yourself a detailed replying affidavit to which you have, I believe, well, since the conclusion of your affidavit is to the effect that the matters you depend to are true to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief. And this just to let you know that we have to confirm to you that we have received also your replying affidavit. So the matters which you have talked about there are now in the domain of the committee. But in keeping with some procedure borrowed elsewhere, as a person concerned, it's only fair that we give you a chance to tell us more about yourself, issues to do with suitability, but you are not limited to giving us synopsis of the matters that have been alluded to here, if only to shed some light. Because then the reason is this committee is open. We are not, there's nothing that is being done in darkness, and therefore you would be at liberty, if you desire so to do, to give brief comments on the contents of your replying affidavit. I think it's only fair that that happens, and to assure you that whatever you say, of course, is being recorded and answered, and will be used by this committee when the committee retreats to do its report and recommendation to the plenary of Parliament. So over to you, Mr. Kamau.
Thank you, Chairman. Let me start from the onset by saying that the matter is still in court because the Engineers Board of Kenya appealed, and it was heard by the Court of Appeal, and it stayed the judgment that had been given by Justice Majaja. The genesis of this is the board's refusal, the Engineers Registration Board then, to register students whom it deemed were not qualified, had not gone through an accredited program in the universities. And that's why the board was taken to court. It was a decision of the board, and one of the articles or the sections of the Act, the then Engineers Registration Act, it states very clearly that there can be no personal liability to a person acting within the board. So it's a board decision, not a personal decision, and therefore it is the board which has been sued, and not me as such, as a person. The issue, as I said, is before the Court of Appeal, and I hear that, I'm told that again, that decision has been taken to the Supreme Court. But the genesis is, basically, there was no regulation of public universities. The Commission for Higher Education's Act generally concentrated on regulating the private universities. And as such, the public universities mounted degree courses without seeking, and the Act, in fact, under Section 11, or Clause 11, stated that universities must furnish the board with information on the suitability of the degree programs that they were mounting. And this they did not. And as such, very many public universities started awarding degrees which had not been accredited. And on evaluation, the board found that these degree programs, the engineers could not be registered. And as a result of refusal to register these engineers, then the matter went to court. Mr. Chairman, in my opinion, it is lack of regulation. Subsequently, in realization of the need to strengthen the regulatory framework of the engineering profession, Parliament, in its wisdom, did pass the Engineers Act now and repeal the Engineers Registration Act. And in fact, the bar was set higher. The bar for qualification as an engineer was set higher by Parliament, and the board given now mandate to oversee degree programs, approve the curriculum, and in fact put fines on any vice-chancellor who mounts a degree program without informing the board and without the approval of the board. The matter was further debated during the debate in the year 2012 on the Commission for University Education, where before the floor, the people in the education sector had wanted to remove that authority. In fact, they had wanted to repeal that particular clause. but it was vehemently opposed on the floor by members because we are in the same boat with the medical practitioners, we are in the same boat with the legal fraternity and other professional bodies. The world over, professional education is generally left to professional organizations to regulate. So that is the genesis of the matter, Mr. Chairman.
Very well. Honorable Jamle Kamau, Honorable Amin Abdallah, Honorable, the name, the answer, Honorable Kato Lemetito, Cecily Baride. How many are those? Maybe you can shoot questions in that order.
Thank you very much, Chairman. And first of all, I do want to take this opportunity to congratulate you, Mr. Kamau, for the nomination to this position. I have one question, which I think you'll be able to answer very well because you've been in the Ministry of Roads for quite some time now. And this concerns the ongoing rains in this country. These rains have actually caused havoc in very many roads in Kenya. If I can just quote a few roads, I know the road between Keno, Muranga, the road between Eldama Ravine, Nyaru, Kisumu, Busia Road beyond the airport, Kabete to Rimuru Road. They are terrible states. They're in terrible state. And the fact that we know rains will be there every year, what policies are you going to be able to put in place to ensure that whatever amount of rain that rains every year, we don't have to go back every time to repair these roads? Is it because perhaps they are not done properly, or what's the main cause reason for this?
Good morning, Engineer Kamau. Congratulations on your nomination and the great work you've been doing as PS Roads. My question, although you've given us good responses and convincingly so on the affidavits that have been brought on you, one of the issues that have been raised is of concern to me, in that it is alleged that you have not been favoring local engineers, and knowing that one of the Jubilee's promises was that the youth and women will be given 30% of government contracts. What have you done as PS Transport, and what do you intend to do in this new position to ensure that women and youth are able to participate in the road construction industry? And secondly, I'd like to know what you intend to do about the road carnage problem in this country.
Thank you, Chair. Congratulations, Engineer Kamau, for your nomination. Mine is a simple question. Over the last 10 years, we have seen tremendous growth in infrastructure development in this country. I want you to tell us what strategies are you going to put in place to ensure continued maintenance and sustainability of this infrastructural development in the country, and also to ensure that it's all spread across the entire country.
Thank you and congratulations, Engineer Kamau. My question is closely related to what the Honorable Amin Abdallah has asked you. Now, we know that there's a lot of money that has been going through KERA for rural roads in the whole country, which now is going to be managed under the county government. And it is a great opportunity for us to be able to create jobs for the many unemployed young people at the grassroots level. And my question to you is, much as the Jubilee government is committed to ensuring that 30% of all procurement goes to young people, What will you do to create capacity to youth-owned companies at the grassroots level so that they are able to understand what they need to do to be able to qualify for those tenders? And what mechanism will you employ to ensure that they actually get these jobs and that they get a means of livelihood, and not just for the youth, but also women, because most of the tenders in the road sector are actually done, actually I would say almost 98% are done by men. How are you going to mainstream youth and women in the road sector? And secondly, the Michuki rules. Kenyans are dying to get somebody who can implement them like he did. Do we expect that you'll be able to implement the Michuki rules so that Kenyans can begin looking forward to that? Or will you just talk like former ministers have done and not achieved anything as far as the Michuki rules are concerned?
Cheboy last on that segment.
Congratulations, Engineer Kamau. You are one of the lucky ones, having had an opportunity to be nominated as a PS and rising through the ranks. I have two questions. The first of the question is about the road congestion and traffic, particularly in the cities, Nairobi in particular. What plans do you have, if you are successful, to decongest the city roads in order to save man-hours and money in terms of lost fuel? And secondly, on the issue of the road authorities, Kura, Kena, and Kera, what is your specific position in terms of making them better reformed in order to respond to road issues? Are you intending to merge them, or you want to strengthen them in order to respond quickly to various road issues? Thank you.
Engineer Kamau.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, let me say that I feel greatly honored and privileged to have been nominated to the position of Cabinet Secretary, and thank you very much for your congratulatory remarks. Honorable Jamle Kamau, on the issue of the ongoing rains and what we intend to do, there is a system of maintenance. Basically, this is a maintenance problem. There is a system of maintenance that we won't roll out. And in fact, I was in discussion with the Director General only this week. And this is a performance-based contracting. We attempted to roll it last year, but we are not trained the contractor sufficiently. Performance-based contracting means this. You award a contract, and the contractor does not leave that road for the next 10 years. So you pay like gratuity. That way, it becomes the responsibility of the contractor. Let's say Thika Road. When it is completed, we don't take over the maintenance of that road. Whoever built it remains there for 10 years. So if he does a shorter job, then he has to pay a lot of money in its maintenance. He has to make sure that he's protecting against the people who are, say, putting posters during campaigns, opening the drains. And he's on the ground 24 hours, rather than us waiting for something to happen and then we move in to repair. I also want to probably mention that tonight at 2 a.m., the road from between Mombasa and Rugaruga to the Tanzanian border was opened 2 days after it was closed. We managed to put a Beire bridge at 2 a.m., and that showed level of preparedness with our national authorities. Specifically speaking about the roads, for the roads which are not under construction and which are existing but are in good condition, we intend to put what we call lengthmen. Lengthmen are people, let's say, the road from Nairobi to Nakuru. Even if we don't have a contractor, we can put a section of about 20 kilometers to somebody who lives in that area. For example, zebras are not along Naivasha, Giugio Road, and you find the carcass rotting there after 1 week. If we, for example, give a section of 10 kilometers between Gilgil on either way, and that person drives in the morning, maybe he has somebody on a motorcycle, then they'll notice the spots. If there was an accident, then there is need to clear the debris, and so on. So we are going to use performance contracting, and in some cases for rural roads, we are going to use arrangement to ensure that there is maintenance on the roads. Honorable Amina, on the issue of local contractors and how they are disadvantaged, women and youth, those two, I think I would combine them together. And I want to say this, during my tenure as a permanent secretary, we had a very small list when I came in of less than 500 contractors in the road sector. It has ballooned to about 6,000. And I'm very proud to say that, and in fact, you being members of parliament, you know that in your constituencies, that since we devolved the operations of maintenance to the counties, to the CRCs, there has been a tremendous growth in the number of contractors who are now carrying out maintenance works, because we generally agree that local maintenance of rural roads should be carried out by the locals. There is no point of somebody traveling from, say, Eldred to go and maintain a road in Rodwa. So in the local contractors, the advertisement was being done in the local offices. So somebody in Mombasa would not know whether there is a job of 2 million that is being done in Turkana. And for that reason, there has been tremendous growth in the number of people who have joined the construction industry. Towards that also, during our negotiations with the World Bank on the National Northern Corridor additional funding, we put in money in 2007 for the formation of the National Construction Authority. I'm very proud to say that, again, Parliament, even though this work was domiciled within the Ministry of Public Works, we have supported this organization in preparation of the bills. We worked very closely with the Honorable Bule when he was defending it before Parliament. And the money for the National Construction Authority, which is funded through the World Bank, comes through the Ministry of Roads. We bought them vehicles. We are helping them to organize the seminars, the advertisements that you are seeing. And I'm very happy that it is taking root. This is going to regulate the construction industry. And probably it's important to say that for 50 years since independence, we didn't have a regulatory framework for contractors. It states there that for anybody to come and start a company here, you must have local partners. And it is stated very clearly in some sections of that law. So I expect tremendous growth in the construction industry in that area. And of course, we will follow the manifesto on the jobs for women and the youth. But I must say that I'm very pleased. The number of women contractors that we have registered who are even now doing bituminous works has increased. Very many women have come into the construction industry. The issue of road carnage, probably I would connect it together with what Honorable Cicely Barire asked about the Mishoki rules. Road carnage, we have about 3,000 people dying on our roads. We compare with Uganda and Tanzania and other countries, but when we look at per capita death in those roads, for 100,000 person, for a population of 100,000, the death in Kenya is at 34. And for 100,000 vehicles, the death is about 1,600. We should hope to be where Sweden is, that for a population of 100,000 in Sweden, only 3 people die from road accidents. And for 100,000 vehicles, 7 people die. And of course, there are more vehicles in Sweden per capita number of vehicles. So that rate is very high. The Ministry of Transport in the last parliament managed to get through a bill on the National Transport and Safety Authority. They have commenced work on this, and these are the people or the group, the board that is going to establish the, give legal status to the Mishoki rules. You know that they have been rolled out. In fact, we are even seeing that they want to have oversight over traffic police officers so that they are able to control their conduct. They have a chairman at the moment, and they are about to recruit a CEO. And this body, in a very, very formal and structured manner, is the one that is going to take over the work that Honorable Michuki had started. What basically we have is impunity and very, very careless driving in Kenya. But those figures of about 1,600 deaths per 100,000 vehicles. In Uganda, they have about 3,500. It is higher than ourselves, almost double. But we don't want to compare ourselves with Uganda and Tanzania. We want to be on our own. And I'm quite sure that if confirmed in this will be one of the areas where I'm going to apply a lot of my energies in. Honorable Metito asked what strategies will make to ensure that there is a continued or intensified infrastructure development and also have a spread of these infrastructure. That means it is balanced within the regions. Over the last 5 years, if I may speak for the Ministry of Roads, we have undergone tremendous reforms in terms of work ethic, the way we carry out our works, the implementation. And this was done through the Roads Act 2007, where we removed the, what we call the role of the employer from the permanent secretary and vested it to the authority. And that has shown tremendous growth in terms of professionalism, because the permanent secretary is no longer the implementing person, and therefore, anytime something went wrong, the permanent secretary, even if he pointed to somebody, he was actually pointing at himself. Now we are able to point at Kenha, at Kura, or Kera, and basically reprimand them. And they have done a tremendous job in the 4 years of existence, establishing authorities, getting rules, getting a spread. And in fact, as a result of this, we are attracting a lot of development partner funding, a lot of it in terms of grants to help us with the designs. I'm very positive that this is going to happen in the next 5 years as we reform, and I expect that we will maintain this momentum and even increase it as we take the same work ethic to the Ministry of Transport. In terms of geographical spread, in the road sector, we had what we call the regional connectivity. You agree with me that our neighbors are very critical in terms of trade, but we don't have a road, a tarmac road linking us to Somali, through Ripoi, through Mandera. We don't have a road. The road now to Ethiopia is being constructed, and we still need to increase our connectivity to Uganda through Kitare, and then also Tanzania. At least we have improved our connectivity through Emari, that is an additional road. And I'm pleased that we are about to award the contract for Taveta. So that way, from a geographical point of view and from connectivity with our neighbors, we are going to work on that. In terms of spread, we have the road sector investment program, which was prepared. There was no investment plan in the Ministry of Roads since independence, and we prepared an investment plan which basically has spread, and I can assure you that if we follow that to the letter, we are going to have all areas of this country benefiting from infrastructure development. I think, in a way, I answered the question that was asked by Honorable Cicely Barire in terms of what we are going to do on the youth by talking about the National Construction Authority. But I would say that the money now that will go to the counties, if we maintain the same percentages in terms of maintenance, will be 47% of the Kenya, the road maintenance levy fund, because we are sending 32% to the constituencies and 15% to the municipalities. So those two put together would be 47, and it is a sizable amount of money for road maintenance. Coming to Honorable Cheboy on Nairobi, and basically this question is for all the urban centers. In Nairobi, we started what we call the decongestion of Nairobi by building the southern bypass, which is ongoing now. It is 30 kilometers. It is to dual carriage and grid separated. That means there are no roundabouts, you have flyovers. It's ongoing. We are making good progress in spite of encountering very many challenges. Very, very many challenges, especially to do with land acquisition, grabbed land, and everybody in this country knows that we have mounted a very strong fight against land grabbing, and we are succeeding, and we are going to succeed, and there is no reason we are going to succeed. We have always told anybody who is on a road reserve, time will catch up with you. We've completed the eastern and the northern bypass as part of the decongestion. And if you may recall that we had tried to do a concession road over Uhuru Highway, but it failed after the financiers withdrew from supporting the concessionaires. We went back to the drawing board, and this year we are going out to tender now using funding that has been received from the World Bank. We have a $300 million loan, $1 million for the construction of the flyover. Apart from that, under the Thika Road project, in 2007, 2008, the Ministry of Transport received a grant of 350 million Kenya shillings for what we call the MRT, Mass Rapid Transit, which includes bus rapid transit. That means buses that have a very heavy capacity, and also light rail. And this we are doing on all the 8 corridors. The studies have been completed, the preliminary designs, and now the Ministry of Transport is embarking on the detailed design. In 2 years, we should finish these designs and then start sourcing for funding so that the light rail comes in place, and we have what we call the bus rapid transit. If you have been to Johannesburg or a town called Bogota, it is basically dedicated lanes. We have 2 dedicated lines in the center of all our major corridors: Jogoo Road, Mombasa Road, Rimuru Road, Muranga Road, and Wayaki Way, such that no other means of transport can use that area of the road, with the IRADs at the center. We won't roll out, but we have to do a lot of education and also to get operators. And we are hoping we can do it like Bogota, where the people who owned the matatus in that town are the ones who own the bus companies. On the issue of and we are doing the same for Mombasa. Like Kisumu, of course, if anybody has been to Kisumu, we've started the Kisumu bypass. We are building flyovers like the ones which are in Nairobi. In Eldoret, we intend to do the Eldoret bypass. Nakuru, the studies are ongoing. We are facing challenges, especially because of land acquisition, but we are up to the task. The road authorities. The Constitution only recognizes 2 types of roads: national roads and county roads. The national roads are under the national government, and this is generally our trunk roads, which are about 14,000 kilometers out of a classified road network of 64,000. So that will be the responsibility of the national government. And these are the main arteries that go to international borders and the roads that link our counties. The other one is very clear. All the county roads, which are class D, E, and others. And the others constitute another 100,000 kilometers, because we have about a network of 160,000 of roads with a width of more than 12 meters. All those are the responsibility of the county governments. For this reason, we have prepared a policy document which says that we can only have one authority, and that is the National Trunk Road Authority. So we intend to merge all the three authorities, Kenha, Kura, and Kera, into one authority that is going to take care of the national roads and provide support to the county governments where they require support. They may not have capacity now, and therefore they may have to rely on the national governments. And depending on what every county wants to do, a governor may decide that he doesn't want to establish a roads department. He may have more urgent problems with water or say health, and concentrate on those. The national government will step in and provide that support. So we are collapsing all the three authorities into one, National Trunk Road Authority. And we have the modalities of doing this. The act or the bill will be, we are going to put it before the floor of the House in due course after following the due process to get the bills before Parliament. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We'll take another round of questions. Two from Deputy Speaker, one from Deputy Speaker, Leader of Majority, Leader of Minority, General Kaiseri, Abbas.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. And thank you, Engineer Kamau. Congratulations for being considered for this position. I have three quick questions. First one is on memorandum, on the memoranda that we have received today. Mine is really to find out, as a board, once you had made up the decision that you are not going to award these people, the students, the certificate, what measures did you take? Because I'm sure you are very much aware that they have spent, it is not, they have undergone a 4 or 5 year course, and then at the end of it, you tell them that they cannot get licensed as engineers. So what measures have you taken so that no other students also fall under the same trap in relation to the other universities? The second one is on these engineers. We are all well aware, because we are politicians and we are all coming from various constituencies, that in as much as they are professionals, but we also know that they have been known to do a lot of deal cutting with contractors. And so really, although they are professionals, they are not above board. My question is, you have been in the system yourself for a very long time and in very senior positions. What are you going to do differently? Or how are you going to ensure that this corruption and the engineers actually do the job for which you are sticking very clearly that they are professionals, and that you are even refusing others not to join because you think it is a very specialized area that they should be performing, in a very professional manner. And lastly, on the issue of this merging of the Kura, Kenha, and I wonder whether you might again be taking us back to where we were before these three were brought together, where we will reach a situation where the focus again will go back to the main roads, the tarmac roads that are, the ABC roads, by again merging and collapsing all of them, when we had at least started seeing the concentration on the rural roads when the three were separate. What are you going to do to ensure that the focus does not just shift into ensuring that the main roads, the ABC roads are taken care of? Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to congratulate Engineer Kamau for his nomination. I have two questions. One is on the port of Mombasa, which now is in your docket. The challenges facing the port of Mombasa, and I'll give you 5 of them: low productivity, capacity constraint, poor road and rail infrastructure, lack of advanced technology in the equipment used, politics, safety and the security of the port. Having an incognizance of the port as a hub for not only Kenya, but the region in your due docket, if Parliament approves your name, what do you want to do about the inefficiency and all these challenges the Port of Mombasa is facing? Number two, and this is a moral question. During your time as a permanent secretary in the Ministry of Roads, the last 5 years, the government of President Kibaki did great in the infrastructure. Why was the Ministry of Roads very selective? How come in that 5 years, with a huge investment in infrastructure, with the legacy President Kibaki left on road infrastructure, why did you left Northeastern Province? How come there's no road constructed in Northeastern Province? You did well in Nyanza, you did well in Central, you did well in Nairobi, the Thika Highway. What did, in your opinion, what happened to the people of Northeastern Province? Why did they not get the roads as other parts of this country got their share of the Kibaki infrastructure program?
Thank you very much. Engineer Kamau, I just want to congratulate you for your nomination to Transport and Infrastructure Ministry. And I have only two short questions. The first one, you experienced that people who live in Kitengela and Gong and other areas, which are not very far from town, have to wake up at, let's say around 4 in the morning to be able to reach their offices at 8 in the morning. And whenever we talk, sometimes in those matatus, they say it's because of the roundabouts, especially the one at Nyayo Stadium, the one crossing the bypass near Carnival, and then the other ones along Uhuru Highway. How long will it take if you get this appointment? How long will you take to phase out those roundabouts, because it's mostly they are the cause of the traffic jam and people lose a lot of time and money through fuel. And it's a big bother when you stay for 3 hours in a jam. My last question, the Kibwezi Kitui Mwingi Maua Ethiopia Road, it has been left unattended to. Yet, that is the richest area in mineral resources. There has been discovery of the good quality coal in big amounts, limestone, copper, and also iron ore. If we have to realize the Vision 2030, we need to exploit these minerals, but they cannot be exploited in the absence of infrastructure development. Many roads have gotten attention, but that road, we've talked about it for a long time. If you get to be appointed, and it's my wish, will you give it a priority? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Engineer, this committee is in effect vetting you for a promotion, because now you are a PS, and if you are going to be confirmed in the position you have been nominated, you'll be a minister. And I want to ask you 1 or 2 questions. Number one, under your watch as a PS, Kenya, tarmacking a road in Kenya, 1 kilometer, is the highest in the region, even not in the world. Why is that so? 2, if you're confirmed in this position, how are you going to ensure that cowboy contractors who actually have been making shoddy roads, have been ripping the country, dry. How are you going to make sure that this is going to stop? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Pongezi, Engineer, for your nomination. I've looked at your papers, and apparently all your working life you have been in the infrastructure ministry, in terms of public works, in terms of roads and all that. Short for the few years you are donated to Moi University, seconded by the same ministry, where you rose from assistant engineer to the PS and now the nominee for this. I must admit that's very impressive. And, but in the infrastructure docket, for lack of a better word, actually I could say you are a homeboy as far as this ministry is concerned. Therefore, in light of that, this is what I want to ask. Does your nomination for this cabinet secretary therefore means the following? One, all major infrastructure projects will go to where the sitting presidents come from, or his deputy, or maybe the cabinet secretary for roads. Number two, where there are these very rich engineers, does it mean a continuation of the era where that if you need to become a very wealthy in Kenya, you only need to be an engineer and not, for that matter, a civil engineer? Number two, my other question is, I'm aware that some money has been lost in your ministry under your watch. And currently the Anti-Corruption Commission are investigating. This, I'm told, is contractors' money, particularly the retention. And I'm told it dates from 2007. A lot of money, maybe hundreds of millions or billions, possibly you can give us the figure. What have you done administratively now that you are the PS in that ministry?
Mr. Kamau.
Thank you, Chairman. The question by Honorable Laboso, what measures would I take, what did I do, or what did the board do to ensure that the engineers who had been trained, or mitigation? After what happened with the board, we wrote a paper to Treasury, a very detailed paper recognizing that we had a problem on our hands. We had students who had graduated, they could not be registered. We engaged the universities and asked the universities if they could call back the students, because the universities admitted, some universities, others did not admit. But I want to be on record, like Jomo Kenyatta University accepted that there was a deficiency in some of their programs. Treasury, over the last 2 years, accepted to provide a grant to the Engineers Registration Board to provide funding to the universities to recall these students. We had finished all the arrangements with Jomo Kenyatta University. It was going to be about 14 million to recall a number of students. They were going to be there for about 4 months to go through this training. The sad thing is, the people who went to court put an injunction on the expenditure of this money, which was at the recurrent budget for the training of engineers, the ones who had graduated and who could not be registered. It's one of the most painful things I've ever experienced, in that we got money from government. We do not want to punish the universities or the students. We do not want the students to pay additional fees. And Treasury had seen the reason for this money. This year again, in anticipation that I would have overcome this problem in court, we got the same amount of money. Now we are reallocating that money. Next year again, I'm obtaining a grant for the same purpose. So we were very, very proactive, and I'm very happy that Treasury supported this, but we are restrained due to court action. About cutting deals with contractors, we have to remain ahead of the game. And one of the ways that we have devised and which to roll out in the coming year is what we call design and build. Instead of us employing engineers to design our roads, we are going to ask the contractors to design the roads. They will pay the engineers, and this is part of what I was calling the design, build, operate. As I say, the contractor remains there for 10 years. So they provide us with a design. Let's say we want to build a road from here to Naivasha. We want to put a dual carriageway. They will submit designs, and they are going to be there for 10 years. So the responsibility and the onus is on the contractor. Ours is to ensure that the geometrics of this work, of the road that has been submitted, is okay. So that way, there are no deals that are being cut. There are some issues also which we've been addressing within our own, in the ministry, what we call here, who the road develops support to after every no. But it is the contractors now who will be the roads department. It was the permanent secretary who engineered. It was very bureaucratic, even with the anonymous manner. Now, in the county government, really knowing that his Honorable Duare on the Mopava port, yet we have operated, I'm one of the people who have suffered from the event of the goods should be going through to this position. The work of a cabinet secretary or permanent secretary is not to be buddy-buddy with people. Basically, it is to implement the law, make sure the law is followed, and so I expect, in terms of raw capacity, operations, the politics, of course, would have to be managed, and safety and security. But if we only realized what Mombasa Port can do and other ports, and the potential to serve now northern Tanzania, it's a fact. If you are a trader operating from Arusha, it's not an issue of patriotism that you would import goods from the port of Dar es Salaam to take them to Arusha, a distance with a difference of about 300 kilometers. So if Mombasa was very efficient, efficiency combined with distance, we should be a very, very strong logistical hub within East Africa. And I want to give an example. Kenya Airways. Why is Kenya Airways a renowned airline? Ethiopian Airlines is ahead of Kenya Airways in a country that even when they were operating under what I would call a communist regime, they left the airline alone to be managed professionally, and right now we can say it is actually among the cream of the African airlines, just those two, South African Airlines and Kenya Airways probably being in that league, but Kenya Airways and Ethiopian Airlines. While we have prided ourselves to be in a democratic society, in a country where we value market economies, but compare this with Ethiopia, where they have not liberalized their financial sector. Why have we lagged behind? What is going to happen to Mombasa Port? And I think this should be known to all and sundry. If we slow the efficiency at Mombasa Port, we are going to have Dar es Salaam and other ports take off, and we are going to play a catching on game, the same way now Kenya is playing with Ethiopia. So it's an area where we ought to direct a lot of energies and really know the value of Mombasa Port as an asset. If I must, what are my failures as a permanent secretary in the last 5 years, I would put the following roads. The road from Garissa to Modagash, that it did not start. I would give myself 50% for the road from Taveta, Mwatate to Taveta. Luckily, it's starting, and the road to Sudan. Those have been my biggest disappointments. Having been chief engineer and permanent secretary, I thought this is an agenda I would have moved very fast. The road between Garissa and Modagash, even with funding from 5 development partners, Kuwaiti FAD, Saudi FAD, OPEC, somehow was faced with a lot of bureaucracy, getting all the 3 to agree, especially on just procuring a consultancy Took us 18 months with a lot of problems. So we faced a lot of bureaucracy. This road and the road to Sudan would be my principal focus if I am confirmed in this appointment. Honorable Nyenze, the issue of Kitegera, Gong, and now what in the social media and the road, if you listen to the radios, what is being referred to as the Republic of Orongai, because of the distance it takes to get to town. This, I would say, there is a failure on the part of government in terms of planning and the silo mentality of operating as ministries, and every ministry is a center. They can do what they want without reference to another ministry. The planning of Rogai, from when it turned from agricultural land to urban area, there was no planning. It is the same thing that is happening in areas like Githurai, where you don't have titles, where you don't have controlled development, and therefore there is no submission of plans. You know, people hiding under agricultural land because you don't come under the jurisdiction of city council, and then of course the management within the county councils was wanting. So there is a failure on the part of planning, and I hope that this government is going to rein in the planning part of it, so that you have commensurate planning. Ongata Rogai, even to leave your home and to drive your home, you have a road of about 3 kilometers. If you drive along the spine road from Ongata Rogai to get to your home, the road reserves are 6 meters. 2 cars cannot pass. You know, somebody has to squeeze himself against a gate. So there's an element of planning that even after we put up the roads, like now the Eastern Bypass, you see that we have a problem already of congestion, because everybody now opens and the plots that are there are allowed to build and everybody is opening. The Eastern Bypass between the airport and a distance to Ruai is now a street, and therefore doesn't even serve the purpose of a bypass. So we need to relate planning to road construction. But on the issue of Carnival, Carnival is served by the Eastern Bypass. The Nyao Stadium will be served by the flyover that I mentioned over Uhuru Highway. And if you have noticed, Honorable Member,